Do you experience bloating? I know I did for many, many years. It was very, very uncomfortable. It seemed like almost everything I ate made me feel like I was pregnant, and it was very difficult to sleep. It was hard to constantly suck in my stomach to try to avoid anyone knowing that I was actually bloated. So, this is what you need to know about bloating. There are many different causes of bloating. Okay, there's not just one cause. I'm going to go through all the causes, but there's a really simple thing you can do to identify where it's coming from. Number 1. Take a look at when you started getting bloated. Was it yesterday? Was it today? What time did you start feeling bloated? And then, what did you eat right before? Was it the obvious junk food or processed food? Was it sugar or alcohol? Let's say you started the ketogenic diet and you had some, I don't know, xylitol, erythritol, or mannitol, whatever. And then that created the bloating because that was new. Or you saw in one of my videos that I recommended consuming 7 to 10 cups of salad, and now you're bloated. Or was it that cruciferous vegetable that you normally don't consume? And then you started getting bloated, or maybe it was dairy. Okay, that's a common cause of bloating. Or you bought a keto snack or a keto bar that had corn fiber, for example, which was a new ingredient that you added to your diet, and now you're bloated. Well, guess what? All you need to do is just avoid that thing, and you're not going to bloat anymore. Like in practice, I had this one lady who came in and she said, "I'm bloating like I'm pregnant." And then she came in the following day, and guess what? She was pregnant. So your bloating could be that you're pregnant, but very simply, just find out when you're bloating and what you introduced that was new, and just avoid that thing. But let's say you have bloating. Is there anything you can do to get rid of the bloating? Yes, there is. So, if this is the right side underneath the rib cage and this is your left side, right through like this, you can simply massage the two key parts of your digestive system that are often responsible for bloating. One is the gallbladder on the right side, or it could be the pancreas, which I'm going to talk about. What you're going to do is start massaging right underneath the rib cage, okay? I like to press about an inch off the midline to the right and about an inch down from your rib cage, maybe 2 inches down, and press right into that area. Just kind of massage to the left and the right, and hold this point for about 1 to 2 minutes. Just don't use a sharp object. When you're pressing in here, you can use a massage tool, or the end of some dull piece of wood, but don't use a sharp object. Then you just kind of work on the left side, and start massaging these two areas. You're going to help decongest these organs and get rid of a lot of bloating, and it'll either push gas through or fluid. Now, one side note I want to mention. One of my patients noticed that their constant bloating went away when they went down to Florida and laid on the beach, okay? And that was because this person was going through massive stress. Every time they experienced sun and the reduction of cortisol stress, their stomach reduced to the point where it was flat. That is because cortisol or stress creates inflammation and swelling in the midsection. So, that's just a side note. If you notice that you go through a stress event and you see your stomach is distended, especially as the day goes on, let's go through each organ and talk about the potential causes of your bloating. Let's start with the stomach. If the stomach does not have enough acid, or the pH of the stomach is too alkaline, okay? Because you're taking antacids or whatever, you can experience either acid reflux, GERD, heartburn, or indigestion. Indigestion is a good clue that you don't have enough acid in your stomach or bloating. So, if you have bloating and you have indigestion or acid reflux, then it's more likely that it's coming from the stomach. The thing about the stomach is it's one of the first places to help you start to digest, okay? If you don't have enough acid, like a lot of people, from that point on, the food will go through this whole chain of events. If it's undigested here, it's going to be undigested here, and these organs are going to have to work harder. So it's very important to have enough acid in your stomach to start the process of breaking down the protein, especially with the right amount of acid. So if you need acid, what you can do is take something called betaine hydrochloride. It comes in a supplement, and you would take maybe 5 or 6 of these with a meal, and that's going to greatly help the stomach regain its acid. The other thing you could take is apple cider vinegar, either on an empty stomach or with food. You would take 1 or 2 tablespoons in some water, and that will help your digestion. So that would be the stomach. The next thing I'm going to talk about is the gallbladder. The purpose of the gallbladder is to concentrate bile, which is like a detergent that helps you break down fat by a factor of 5 times. So, it helps to concentrate the bile. When you eat, it's released into the small intestine and mixes with the pancreatic enzymes to help you break down certain things. Now, if the gallbladder does not have enough bile, maybe you don't have a gallbladder, or maybe it's just sluggish, you'll get burping, belching, or bloating, or you'll feel nauseated. There are a lot of symptoms, but you can feel bloated if you don't have enough bile salts. So if you bloat and you have this belching and burping, and maybe you have a full sensation underneath the right rib cage, or pain that goes into the right shoulder, it could be up here or in your neck, then suspect gallbladder issues. You may need some purified bile salts or a gallbladder formula to help assist this gallbladder. So those would be some clues that you might need help right through here. The other thing you can do, and you can use this also to help figure out if it is the gallbladder, is to press underneath the right rib cage. Start massaging underneath the right rib cage, and if your discomfort on the right side goes away, or you feel less bloated, chances are you just need a little help with more bile salts. Now, we have the pancreas. The pancreas is more on the left side, but it does cross over a little bit to the center, maybe to the right side. If your pancreas needs help, let's say you don't have enough enzymes, okay? Because of various reasons, maybe you're diabetic or you've eaten a lot of carbs in the past, and you're losing function in the pancreas. The pancreas just makes enzymes. You could get diarrhea. You can get floating stool, like kind of greasy stool that floats. That means you don't have enough enzymes to break down that fat. It's called lipase. And guess what? You're going to get a lot of bloating if this is the case, okay? You need more enzymes. So you'd want to get some supplement that has a wide variety of enzymes. You also want to make sure that you consume food with enzymes, maybe some raw salads, okay? To get more enzymes to help you digest, as well as fermented foods like sauerkraut. Things like that would help take the pressure off the pancreas. The pancreas also improves when you cut down on high carbs, okay? Because the more sugar you have, the more insulin that's produced, the harder the pancreas has to work. So, that's the pancreas. Okay. So, with the stomach, you would need more acid. With the gallbladder, bile, and with the pancreas, enzymes. Moving right along, we have this thing called the small intestine, which is right in the center. The small intestine is where you have 90% of all the digestion, okay? The food particles that are broken down by the stomach into amino acids, the gallbladder breaking down the fat, the pancreas helping break down food, and then the small intestine, which also has enzymes. But it's not supposed to have a lot of bacteria. A lot of the good bacteria should be in the large intestine, okay? Further down. But you have this long pipe that the food should go through, and the enzymes and other things should act on the food to break it down and help it be absorbed, so it can go into the liver and other places in the body. But a lot of people get bloating in the small intestine, okay? They actually have fermentation going on in the small intestine. Fermentation is the action of a microbe on a food like a carbohydrate, fiber, or sugar. Okay, now an example of this would be with my chickens, okay? So, I have about 16 chickens and we eat their eggs. What I do is ferment the food, okay? When you ferment the food, you actually soak it in water for 3 days. The bacteria that's normally in the grains, which by the way are organic, is going to act on the carbohydrate, break them down, and make it much easier for the chicken to digest that food. Plus, in the fermentation process, you get a lot of gases that are released, like carbon dioxide. As you can see in this image right here, we have a lot of carbon dioxide and other gases being produced by the microorganisms. It looks like it's boiling, but it's just releasing gas. But guess what? When you have this excess fermentation going on in your small intestine, that gas is going to produce a lot of distension and bloating. So you could have either fluid retention going on in the small intestine or gas. Because if you're not able to digest certain foods in the small intestine, you're going to retain fluid. And that's one version of bloating, but it can also be a combination of gas as well. So, this condition in the small intestine is called SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. Okay. This is a situation where you have bacteria that normally should be in the large intestine, but it's in the small intestine. It's in the wrong place, and the food coming down is being fermented in the wrong place, and you're going to get a lot of gas and fluid retention. And how do we know you have SIBO? Well, if you consume probiotics, guess what? You're going to feel worse. You're going to get more bloating. Or if you consume more salad or fiber, it's going to be worse. You're going to get more bloating. Why? Because you have these bacteria that are ready to ferment it at this level, and you're going to feel worse if you consume that. So, that's one indication to know that potentially you have SIBO. You can go get a test. So, what do you do if you have SIBO? Well, you want to avoid probiotics, and you want to avoid fiber. So, you probably want to do carnivore for a while, which means you're not going to be consuming any plant fiber, okay? Any vegetables for a while, maybe 1 or 2 months to reset your system. The only thing you should take is oregano and garlic to act as a natural antibiotic. You can also do clove, thyme, and even sage, things like that. And that will act as a natural antibiotic. But these two work really well. Another really important thing to do would be fasting. Intermittent fasting. Fast as long as you can. That will help to reset and clean this out. Okay, so that's the small intestine. Alright, now we're at the large intestine. You can also have excessive amounts of fermentation going on, giving you bloating and gas. If you have this situation, it could be that you just have an imbalance in microbes, and you have the wrong amount of certain microbes versus others. In which case, a wide range of vegetables might be helpful. More fiber. A lot of people that I know who have problems down here rarely have any vegetables. In fact, the average person consumes, I think, 1.5 cups of vegetables every single day. It's just not enough. So, the microbes live on the fiber. But if you're not feeding them on a regular basis, they might not grow to the amount that you want, or to the diversity that you need. So, a probiotic and fiber would be beneficial for this situation. If you feel better when you take a probiotic or fiber or a combination, like sauerkraut has good bacteria and fiber, if you feel better when you take that, chances are your problem is in the large intestine. If you feel worse when you consume sauerkraut, chances are you might have a problem in the small intestine. Okay, so that's just a way to differentiate those two. But anyway, I wanted to go through the whole system to help you understand the different parts of this digestive system and the potential causes of your bloating, so you can fully eliminate it. Now, the other thing I want to mention is if you're not on healthy keto and you're not doing intermittent fasting, I would first go for that. Implement that before you even get into any of these things, because you just might need to have the correct eating plan and the correct time of eating to crack the whole thing. So if you want that information, I put a very simple playlist. You can learn this very quickly right here, check it out.